Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 144 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we preview the second league-wide event of the season, set to take place this weekend in Haverhill and Lawrence, Massachusetts. Starting things off in the weekly rundown, we look back at the past week, as well as reflect on where the power rankings stand heading into the November showcase. Further along, inside the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge, Team HNIB got the upper hand this past week as they tried to slowly start cutting their way into the deficit. Then, to wrap things up in our What to Watch For segment, we circle some key matchups to watch throughout the upcoming showcase weekend. This week's episode is brought to you by Hockey Tech, the developers for the new EHL app, available now in both Apple and Google stores. So with that, let's bring in this week's E-Crew. It's just three of us this week. Jeff and Anthony. Anthony, we could almost adopt you into Team OG this week.
I've been thinking that.
Only a year and a half until I'm on the wrong side of 30.
Buddy. Don't wish away, Ant. Don't wish away.
I tell you what, Anthony, all my friends that have reached 30, after me, I know Jeff is kind of older than me. You feel the pain when you wake up in the morning. The right knee pain right now. Every morning, I can feel it.
Tendonitis, Neil. Tendonitis.
Anthony, I also have some great news for you, though, because you really are not joining Team OG. You're still on Team HNIB. You guys actually gained some ground this week.
Oh, Neil slipped.
Uh-oh. We won't get to that just yet. That's a tease, if you will.
I was going to say, I totally wasn't just tanking for Connor Bedard or anything. So.
Well, there's your plug, Connor. Come to the EHL. With that, let's get into the weekly rundown.
It's time for the E-Crew's Weekly Rundown.
The E-Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by, no, not Connor Bedard, the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
It's kind of like if he was actually in the league and you didn't pick him, it's like you have McDavid right in front of you. You're supposed to pick him for fantasy, but you choose somebody else instead. But Connor Bedard's not going to play in the EHL. I hate to break it to all of us.
Something tells me he's excelled past Tier 3 hockey. Love Tier 3 hockey, but I think Connor Bedard has excelled past that.
So let's jump first into the power rankings because we finally had a new team, I guess you could say, in the EHL take over the number one spot. The season obviously began with the 87s at number one because they were last season's champ. They rode through week one of the season, and then when they fell to the Wolves at the September showcase, the Wolves had control from week 2 to week 7.
Damn.
And we heard about it, Jeff.
We did.
We heard about it.
Chris.
He's listening. Chris. He's listening right now.
I'll say I think he taps into our podcast and gets a preview. He is probably him and Walsh might be tied for the two that listen to it the quickest.
He lives 7 miles in that direction too, so he's probably just sitting on my back deck instead right now. But
has one of those walkie-talkies listening. And, yes, Chris, you're number one. All right, you're number one.
We get it. We get it.
The group text, we love it. But
I did not get a chance to share with you guys the video that he sent me after posting that they were number one.
Oh, I think he sent it to me in the group text. Did he? Was that?
Oh, no, it was in the group text. Yes, Anthony, I'm sorry you haven't seen this yet. It's a video of Aiden Hotchkiss on the ice after practice, basically just saying, it's about time. So, partially why we picked Aiden Hotchkiss this week. We'll get to that. Aiden Hotchkiss on the graphic this week also. But, again.
Lots of love for Aiden. Aiden, we love you.
Maybe
take the dartboard down, guys.
Yeah, maybe You know what? Honestly, maybe we slept on the Avalanche a little bit because they've kind of just gone ho-hum throughout the season so far. And there's been so much to talk about with this North Division that I guess I'll ask it as a question now. Have we slept on the Avalanche, and are they just doing what they always do and they're a top contender once again this year, guys?
Possibly. I think I always tell you guys one of my other favorite sayings, no, not rest first rust, but they put erasers on pencils because that's we make mistakes. All right. So not that we made a mistake, but I think you're onto something, Neil. I mean, the Avalanche got a nice blend of guys. You got Aiden Hotchkiss back. I really like Rory Andrioli too. That's another guy that's been good for them. So they got a good blend, but always with Chris and Mario at the head of the New Hampshire Avalanche, that the two veteran coaches, things, just kind of, it's not that they've bored us because they haven't bored us, but yeah, I think you bring up a good point, Neil. It's just the depth in the North has been something to speak about. And the Avalanche have just been kind of, cruise controlling through all their opponents.
It's been a crazy week in the North Division. I mean,
Very.
the Vermont Lumberjacks beat the New England Wolves by a score of 7-2.
Yeah.
Where they just blitzed the Wolves, who are another top team. And then the Avalanche, they go out and they beat the Lumberjacks, not by as big of a deficit, but a 6-4 win nonetheless. Shane Paremba making 37 saves on 42 shots. There have been so many games I've noticed with just these crazy high shot totals. Philadelphia Hockey Club and Philadelphia Little Flyers, when I was looking at the stats leading up to the 87's Little Flyers game, I noticed that both of those Philadelphia versus Philadelphia games, both teams had over 40 shots on goal. So are we becoming an all offense league, defense optional?
Well, I will say this, Anthony, not
You,
to skip,
Jim Montgomery.
not to skip to the South too quickly. I've tried to go back into Instat after each game and update the shots as best as I can, because the game that you just referenced, there was a Philly Hockey Club, Philly Little Flyers game where when I logged in afterwards, the shots were 57-56. It's 113 shots in a game.
Oh my God.
So I got a text from ALO that said, hey, just an FYI, you're going to see an email soon about Louis Finnegan requesting a trade to Philly Hockey Club. And I'm like, what? He's goalie of the month. Like, he's a 2-year Little Flyer kid. Like, they're trading him in division 20 minutes away. He's like, no, but if they want to pad the shots like that, he's all in. And I was like, I was like, damn, dude, that was actually pretty good. When I went back to Instat, obviously trim off 10 from each side. But to your point, Anthony, Instat's confirming it. There's a lot of shots this season. I'm not sure if it's just a trend so far or it's that cliche saying of just pucks on net, like, and just throw it on goal and
pucks in deep, pucks on net.
Do you have the numbers on goals? Are we seeing more goals this season than we have last year?
That is a good question. I don't know. I don't have like the current number where we're at this year versus current number where we're at last year, but it's worth looking into that because it feels like it a little bit. But
I was just say, I think just naked eye, right, Neil and Anthony, like we've seen a lot of 5-4 games, 6-3. We had a 10-2 in there that involved the New Hampshire Avalanche that we're currently speaking about. I think goals are definitely up. That's a nice little nerdy thing for us that we might have to get doing on, and I would be happy to join on the nerd patrol of goals for this year versus last year, because I think we are definitely a little higher than last year. It has to be.
If you want to go all out on the nerd patrol, Jeff, let's go into advanced analytics. What's the expected goals percentage for each team? Oh boy,
what's their Corsi?
See if the 87s will regress to the mean offensively, or if the Wolves, if we're going to see,
it's funny that you say that.
Back up.
I actually saw a stat the other day that the NHL is experiencing their highest per game goal totals in a few decades as well. So maybe it's just hockey scoring is up.
I think speed, right? Speed is one of the biggest things that coaches look for at all levels.
Yep.
I think the EHL is a tick faster this year than it's been in years previously, and a lot of leagues are a tick faster, including the NHL.
I know that the EHL had recently separated from USA Hockey, but I do think that has another big portion to do with it. where coaches are telling players from a young age, or where coaches were encouraged to maybe break away a bit from these super defensive structure systems, let the players be more creative. I think having the younger kids playing half ice instead of having the 6-year-olds playing a full hockey rink, I think we're starting to see those factors come into effect now as these players are coming up to the junior ranks and also the pro ranks. And we're starting to see a rise in creativity with these players.
Here you go, right here. The NHL is experiencing its highest per game average of goals per game since 93-94. And I think it just trickles down to Anthony's point here. So, and it's nothing against the goalies. I mean, look at Joe is yelling right now, and every coach that's a former goalie is yelling at us right now. So because they've taken this as an insult to the goalies. Because I think we do have some great goalies in the league this year, but
it's all because we lost Nathan Miller with his .09, .90 goals against. Nate brought our level down a whole other notch.
He just set the bar so far, or so high, I guess you could say, not down, that you can't even maintain that. So, but it's for back to those Avalanche that we kind of started this conversation with. I remember it was 1 or 2 episodes ago where we talked about how they were a quote unquote last place team. I mean, that division is just crazy to think about, because obviously the Wolves have been, the talk of the league, since the start of the season up until this past weekend when they got swept by the Lumberjacks up in Vermont, a pair of games there. And they've kind of gone through this small little rut recently, right? Compared to how hot they were. And then Anthony mentioned how the Avalanche beat Vermont on Tuesday. That was Vermont's first loss in division so far this year. They had already beat the Avs twice. They had beat Seacoast 3 times, beat the Wolves twice. So they hadn't just beat every opponent in their division. They had beat every opponent in their division multiple times.
Right.
And then Seacoast, I have to say it, they're winless in the North Division. Right? That division, I can't tell who is who, because some of them are great in the division and some of them are great out of the division. And some of them are not great out of the division. The Lumberjacks have lost both games so far this year that they had against the Railers.
The team that's playing better of late. We'll get to the Central in a second.
Of course.
But I mean, the other thing too, Neil and Anthony, is when you look at the North Division, look at we're talking about offense. They all play offense, but they all play defense and goaltending too. They all have good differentials, right? The Avalanche plus 28, Wolves are plus 15, Vermont's plus 19, Seacoast is plus 9. So they're all, minus the Spartans, surprisingly, are well over 60 goals already. Avalanche had 69 goals. Hey, how are you? 64 for the Wolves, 65 for the Lumberjacks. But, they're all playing offense, but they're getting back and playing defense and have good goaltending too. Paremba's been solid. Billiquay's been really good. Trevor Jewell, congrats. Just saw the commitment here today on Andrew Trimble's Facebook or the Wolves Facebook, I think.
Yep. To Brockport.
So
that's this awesome.
Yeah, news from Facebook, Jeff. Wow, you really are part of Team OG.
It was on a team page.
Yeah, Jeff is a huge fan of the Facebook algorithm. But Jewel obviously just committed to Brockport. We should talk about that too. Was a member of the All-Star team that just faced Brockport. So those ones are always the coolest to me, to see a player on our side who now will be on their side next year. Right?
I was surprised with his efforts, though. Coach Dickinson was probably like, that kid's not signed yet. Sign him now.
Well, what's funny is when I got up to New York, Brian said to me, I will commit one of these 3 goalies in the next week and a half. He goes, if I don't do it before they leave this weekend. I was like, wow. Okay. Well,
just want to see who he liked best.
Yeah. I was like, he knows what he's going for. So he got that. But again, we've talked about the North every week. It seems like every week we learn just a little bit more about the teams there. And obviously, I think for all 4 of those teams, even though some of them have had better luck than others against teams out of their division, they're all excited to see teams out of their division this upcoming weekend at the Showcase.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yes. And the same could be said for the South, which Anthony brought up before. I have been now asked by multiple members of the South to reveal where they are in the rankings after the top 5.
Oh,
And I said,
okay.
I said,
Interesting.
if you really care that much, you're all hurting each other.
And this is from all coaches, or are we talking one,
I
two?
won't name names. There's
Good man, good man.
there's
Had to
obviously
ask.
there's obviously 2 currently in the top 5, but there's 3 not, and they all beat up on each other though. So it's not like they have these lengthy winning streaks that can propel them in, because they win one, they lose one, they win one, they lose one, and right now, as interested as I am with the North, I mean the South, you never know who's going to win a hockey game. You know, one week you wake up and I'm like, oh, these guys are trending up, these guys are trending down, and then it's flipped the next week.
They're easily
Totally
our
flipped.
2 most exciting divisions, though. And I think that both of them, I would not be shocked to see someone from the North and someone from the South make the Frozen Finals championship because of, well, I mean, just look at it, right? We still have a lot of hockey to play. And yeah, of course, standings can flip. Look, the Rangers are back in first in the East. Good for them.
Yeah.
They righted the ship. Everyone was worried about them early on. And they're like, hey, we're in first. Hate to told you so, but told you so. But I mean, with the North and South, they just keep beating up on each other. But it's like when you're in the NFL and you have a good offense. We won't talk about the Patriots because their offense bites. But when you have a good offense, it goes against a great defense, right? So all those years you go up against a good defense, and that actually makes you play better. So I mean, with the North and South, I think because they play each other so much, and they're 2 of our talented or most talented divisions this year, I think that that's going to help both of those divisions, all of those teams, in the long run.
Yeah, Jeff, you just had to bring up the Patriots. I wasn't on the podcast last week, but before last week's podcast, I actually went to the Jets Patriots game at MetLife Stadium where Zach Wilson threw 3 interceptions. That was my first football game at MetLife Stadium. It was not a very fun one.
Yeah,
pizza
passes, basically the NFL variety of pizza passes.
But you know what? And then the next week they go and they beat the Buffalo Bills.
Hospital balls, that's what they call them. That's what he was throwing.
So the NFL has the same parity as us. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
You know what's funny, Jeff? You mentioned that about the North-South championship matchup. So you know how like you see it a lot in pro sports. It's like if the playoffs started today, here's where everyone would be.
Yeah.
So like let's just say hypothetically, the current division leader in every division wins their division. Obviously, we're not going to have 4 1 seeds in Providence. Something is going to happen.
Or will we? I don't know.
Well, you never know, right? But
tune in to find out.
Right now, the 1-4 matchup in Providence would be Avalanche Rangers.
Oh
right?
my God. Not again. Guys, come on.
Well, hold on. And the 2-3 matchup would be Ducks versus Chiefs. Right? So if all 4 current division leaders win their division, and obviously when we get there, you take those 4 winners and you seed them 1 through 4 based off the regular season standings. Right. So to Jeff's point, if it is a north-south, if the 1 and the 2 seeds win in Providence, you're looking at a Ducks Avalanche final. Interesting.
Remember that
because they play this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Also,
you know what else I just found interesting, just looking at the standings?
Yeah.
That every team in the North Division has a positive goal differential. The Spartans have the lowest goal differential at +9.
Yep.
So when they win big.
Yeah. and really, if you look at the 9 there, the only teams outside of their division that are above that 9, the Rangers at 11, the Philly Hockey Club at 19. That's it. So,
and 4 out of the 5 teams in the South are all plus differential. Minus
the other
PLF,
thing too,
sorry,
the 87s have the lowest goal total in the entire EHL right now.
Yeah, how have they only scored 34 goals but won 9 games? Adam Hooley, explain yourself.
Well, look how many goals they've given up.
Smokes.
This is a podcast, so you're listening. But if you go on the standings page on the EHL website, they've only scored 34 goals, but they've only given up 27.
Right,
even lower than every other team.
And credit to them. I mean, losing Cam Carroll was not an easy thing, and then Kyle Spann Next man up. Hooley's done that very well. He just has a very next man up mentality with all of his guys, forwards, defense, or goaltenders, I feel like. So good for him. Good for them.
They also got a new goaltender who played in the shootout loss against Philadelphia Hockey Club.
Oh, is that Hugh Jessen?
Hugeson. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. I did meet him when they played their home game against the Little Flyers, and he seemed really, really excited to join the team. And at least from what I saw during that game against Philly Hockey Club, because I was also at my other job for that one, he seemed to make some pretty good saves. And I think now that the 87s have a goaltending tandem again, where it's not just Kyle Span and whatever EHLP call up to just fill in that role, I think it'll be much easier for them, which is saying a lot because they've already been so good defensively and between the pipes.
Yep.
Central or East next?
I mean, symmetrically speaking, would be North, South, Central.
Okay.
East, I guess.
Okay.
Middle.
Are we sleeping on the New York Apple Corps? Quietly
winning streak, baby.
That just quietly going about their business, knocking off the Chiefs, swept Rhode Island recently. I mean, they're just a hair below 500, really, when you look at their record, 7-8-2.
And we're talking about goaltending. Benoon is now tied for second in the league in wins with Berkey, Jewell, and Paremba. Look at his numbers. Excellent. 246 goals against, 938 save percentage. Kid sees a lot of pucks. Yep. The guy Anthony actually told me about. Anthony was someone from the 87s, actually, that's
Kyle Fulkerson.
Fulkerson, that's right.
Yep. Good friends with Benoon.
Yeah.
I think with Apple Corps, though, they're playing against a Connecticut Chiefs team who's also been struggling a little bit.
Yep.
HC Rhode Island, they had that great 4-0 start. And now I think they're facing some struggles that most expansion teams have, where I think it's just getting used to not just junior hockey, because obviously they won those games early on, but I think the slog of the EHL season.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for Apple Corps, they are going up against a very good New Hampshire Avalanche team. Again, like you said, Neil, probably the most slept on team in the league. Mm-hmm. So I think that this showcase, at the very least, this first game for Apple Corps will be a good test. They also go up against the New England Wolves.
Yep.
In Haverhill, then they get to play the Seahawks. So I think that this showcase will be a very good indicator of what kind of team Apple Corps is. And if they can keep this winning streak going, then yeah, I'll be a believer. Absolutely.
That is a gauntlet of a schedule for sure. Who's that scheduler again?
I don't know. Is my memory correct, Anthony, that you called Apple Corps Wolves last year in Haverhill? It was a shootout game, and I want to say it was one of the best shootouts we've ever had because it was like Callanan and Walters went for the Apple Corps, and then Declan House scored for the Wolves. Obviously, none of those guys are here this year, but facing off in Haverhill again this season. So maybe another shootout in the books.
I don't think I called that game, but
I think I remember you were posting highlights about it then or something because of Declan House.
Actually,
he was a league guy.
You want to know what the funny thing is too? Because Jackson Bernard was in net for that one, right?
Yep.
Then we had the Hockey TV ad before every game, and there were so many goals against Jackson Bernard where I'm just thinking he was the best goalie in the league last season, maybe save for Nate Miller, and we just happened to get all the goals that other teams were able to muster on Jackson Bernard, and we just all heaved them onto that EHL commercial. I'm thinking like, wow.
Well, it's an interesting point, Anthony, because I always thought about that when I see hockey highlights.
Trevor does work for their rival in the Railers, so I can actually understand that.
But whenever you see hockey highlights, they always show goals, right? They show saves when they can, but like, you got to be really mentally tough to be a goalie because you're always being showcased as giving up goals, always, which is why I'm not a goalie. So,
and that's why when we talked about Bernard last year in the podcast or in games and stuff, you had to look at with goalies. It's more look at save percentage, not goals against, because how many pucks do they see? How many pucks do they save? If they're seeing a lot and they're still making a lot of saves and you're still over the 900 number, then you're usually doing okay somewhat, right? But Yeah, I mean, good for the core. That is a heck of a schedule. Though. If they can knock off the Avalanche and Wolves, I think we'll be talking a lot more about them next week. So
For sure. And then to wrap things up with the East Division, which is the division that you can almost say one good week you can go and you can be the new first place team. It's what it truthfully feels like,
yeah.
right? Because that's what the Rangers just did.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the Seahawks on Tuesday and then won on Friday, Saturday. All of a sudden they're in first place.
First place, 9-7.
So, and we touched on this last week. Walpole, or the Express Hockey Club, I should say, has been kind of right there at the top the entire time. The Wizards with the craziest record in the league now at 5-7-4. So, I mean,
Love that OT frame.
it's a really unique division. And just curious to see. I mean, look at the streaks, right? You got the Rangers having won 2 straight. Everybody else is coming into the showcase on a quote unquote losing streak. So any of those teams flip their results around, and all of a sudden they're the first place team. So
what do you know? Rich has a good goalie again, Neil. Have you seen that? David Felak comes and saves the day.
Yeah.
NA cut. He's been unbelievable. Best goals against in the EHL right now. 6-3 overall record. So good find.
You know what button I just found that I hadn't even touched on yet was the special teams button on the standings page. Have you guys seen that?
Wait, Jeff, did you say that he has the best goals against average with .66?
No, 1.4. 1.47.
Oh, I was way off.
Yeah, .66.
I was going to say let's go back into the analytics. What's his goals saved above average?
It's got a save percentage of 951. I'll tell you that.
Have you guys seen these power play percentages yet?
No.
The Railers are executing at a 35% rate.
And where'd you find that
penalty kill?
So go to standings and then click the button that says special teams and hit submit. 87's 10%, lowest in the EHL.
But their penalty kill, 98%. They've only given up 1 power play goal.
Wow.
Look at that. Love this new website. Every week I find something new on it. Last week I was real heavy on the transactions and streaks page last week, still on it. Ryan Arendi's 8-goal streak. Hey, how are you? Wow. Look at that.
That's crazy, Anthony, because the worst power play in the league, 87s, has the best penalty kill in the league, right? The best power play in the league, Railers, has the worst penalty kill in the league. Railers, 63.8. So
I can't speak for the Railers, but I know with the 87s, it's just so much like last year's team. Offense, not much going for them right now, but the defense is there. And one thing I actually do want to bring up when I was talking to head coach Adam Hooley during the Little Flyers game, the last home game they had, he said that this year's team blocks more shots than any other team he's coached with the 87s.
Wow.
And he believes that part of it could be a carryover from the postseason last year, because in those games in Providence, not just the championship, but also the championship game where they had to kill that 5-minute major, guys like Matt Herrick, TJ Branish, Hayden Watson, they stepped up and they blocked shots. Isaiah McKinney, not putting up too many points right now for the 87s, but he is a monster in the back end. He's eating pucks, he's throwing the body, and he's been so stable in his own end. He's one of the reasons why the 87s have a great goal differential, even though they haven't gotten that many goals themselves.
Yeah, this special teams button is blowing my mind right now. Like you said, just looking at the Railers with their 21 power play goals for, but they're giving up 21 against. We won't say their PK percentage because we love Sean Bertoni too much. And the 87s just giving up 1 power play goal. A 98% kill rate is like, that's a video game. That's
also, how about the Little Flyers once again tied for the lead in shorthanded goals? Last year they had Kyle Patton, who I believe scored 5 shorthanded goals alone last season.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And there are a couple of other players that had some shorthanded goals as well. Mm-hmm. Once again, Philadelphia Little Flyers right on top of it with 4, tied with the Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at the EHLP standings, Jeff. Then click special teams and realize that the Vermont Lumberjacks at the EHLP level are like, listen, If the 87s have given up 1 power play goal all year, we've given up 2. We're right behind them.
Ooh, 94.7%.
Crazy numbers, though.
Come on, Seth. You can get up to 98%. If Hooley can do it, you can do it, Coach Gustin. Let's go.
And now that we're here, right before the November showcase, and I know we've touched on this before, no one is more anxious and/or excited for this upcoming weekend than the PA Huntsmen. They went 1-2 at the first showcase. I mean, 9-1-1 in the month of October, and it's nothing against the rest of their division, but to now get a chance to prove themselves again, facing the Seahawks, facing the Avalanche, facing the Warriors, it's kind of a second chance for them to say, yes, we are real, we do belong. When you potentially will see us in Providence, we will put up a fight there as well. So I'm excited to see what they have this weekend. Jeff, do you want to share that text that you got?
You read my mind. I just got it out on my phone now. I was at Northeastern doing men's hockey last week against UNH, and I looked at my phone and it was a number I didn't recognize. Zach is what area code? 484. Is he from Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Okay, so 484 is a Pennsylvania, because I was like, what the heck is this? The text reads, Mills dash, big fan of you and the OG boys. Sorry, Anthony, Jake Tyler. Zach Overholzer, comma, Huntsman GM, just following up to make sure you got cut from the Huntsman broadcast roster, asking for a friend. Ha ha ha. Because we talked about it last week, that the last 2 games that the Huntsman lost in showcase play, I had the pleasure of calling those with Joe Sindoni.
Because Anthony called the win.
Have me call the Huntsman game. Actually, the Huntsman, the Huntsman are 2-0 when I've called their games, because they had that overtime win against the 87s when Daniil Diukin scored the overtime goal. And let me tell you, when they played at Jersey Shore Arena, I mean, I thought they looked pretty good when they played against the New England Wolves. This team was flying. It was a fast-paced game. I thought the 87s and Adirondack Junior Thunder was a great back-to-back series, 2 games that went into overtime. Even though this is just 1 game, it was a heck of a matchup. These 2 teams just going toe-to-toe. And I think with the Huntsmen, too, they have that affiliation with Team Maryland. So they have some of the guys who maybe didn't quite make the cut. They're playing with their EHLP team. Some guys going back up to Team Maryland, where I think that affiliation really helps them. And they've built something special in Pennsylvania. And I mean, I think they can have a great weekend in Haverhill.
Yeah, and so the rest of that, so Anthony, you take over, and I will retire from the PA Huntsman broadcast.
I'm not going to be there this weekend, Jeff.
I know you're not. Sorry, Zach. I did tell Zach, though, I officially deleted myself from any of your future calls. But me and Neil will definitely keep hashtag hunting in fantasy. With
Ooh. I love a solid dad joke. Anthony.
That's why I had to get it in there. Obviously, hold on real quick. Zach did say, obviously kidding, kept to myself over the episodes, but had to bust your balls.
Yes, of course.
That's it.
When the NHL had the bubble a few years ago, Doc wasn't there, correct? He was calling games from home?
Yeah.
I think he was.
So, Anthony, what day is the wedding you're going to this weekend?
Saturday.
On Friday, you're going to call the Huntsman from your kitchen.
Hey.
Oh, no.
I was going to say, COVID was a weird thing, man. It helped us. You can do stuff from long range now.
You know, it's funny, Anthony. I couldn't tell you what year it was, but a previous Haverhill showcase, they set Jeff up.
Oh, man.
Not at center ice, but in this like corner window. And he's calling the games like this the entire time. And they dump the puck into the corner. I really can't see there because there's 4 walls.
For those who are watching, because this is a podcast, Neil was leaning over and Jeff
all I could see was
had to lean. It was like all
I could see was half of Neil's mouth.
It's like in an old stadium sitting behind a steel girder. You have to, kind of lean one way to actually look at the action.
I was actually just talking about that with Dave Thuralt last weekend. It was weird because we were talking about the Haverhill showcase, and somehow it came up. Because what was it? Oh, I think we were telling Jake's brother Mike Basile, who might do some showcase games for us, because he's a hockey commentator as well, 6 years older than the little brother Jake that we love so dearly in the EHL. But yeah, I was telling Mike about that vantage point because I think he had a bad vantage point recently. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, you ever call one from a conference room at an angle? There was something that happened with like the internet or the like power connections that day that forced me into the conference
Yes.
room. It's the one that was like right next to the office when you go through the doors. And yeah, it was just set up there. I got a picture of it somewhere.
You will not be calling from there this weekend, Jeff.
Yes, I'll be in
Don't
the
you
rink.
worry.
Thank God.
But in terms of the EHLP, I mentioned Vermont with that tremendous uh, penalty kill percentage, but they're kind of just going ho hum at the top of their division as well, 12-3 with 66 goals for so far. One of the top goal differentials in the league. Rangers,
It's the
yes,
differential episode, folks.
yes. Oh, you should. There's your title right there.
Differential.
Rangers have suffered their first regulation loss. Finally,
What a heater they've been on. They're like last year's Railers premier team.
Yep.
Plus 41 differential if we're staying on that theme. Holy smokes. 74 goals for. That's the most goals by any team in both of our EHL and EHL premier.
the other day, Mike Richard texted me, or I texted him about something. I think they had won a couple of games in a row or something like that for the Seahawks. And he's like, no. Look at our spot in the standings. We are a perfectly 500 average hockey team. Look at their record.
Look at their record. Look at their 53 goals for, 53 goals against, 7-7. One loss. I'll take my check, please. I'm out. Wow, that's crazy.
Like right down the middle. I had to bring it up, Jeff, because you know I love my symmetry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I've thought about that so much, and like it comes up, and I'll bring you up in random games that you're not even a part of the league, because it's something about it that just kind of you've warmed me up to the symmetry.
it just makes
over the last few years.
it just makes
Just
things
looks
easier.
nice. Yeah, it does. Flows.
And then right before we get to fantasy, because I know Team HNIB picked this player, so this is probably a good transition into fantasy. The pace that Ryan Arendes is on, I know we talked a lot about William Prey, who technically now is the second leading scorer in the EHL. He's trailing Dallas Tomato. He does have 3 games in hand, so likely he'll get points in those games and pass D'Amato. But clear out in front right now in the EHLP is Ryan Arendes with 34 points. Next closest guy is 6 back. When do we have to start talking about what the pace that he is on and what he could possibly, I guess you could say, set for records this season? Because, I mean, early on, he is obviously the clear front runner for MVP. The Huntsmen are having a great season, but he is literally driving the train for that team right now.
Yeah, he is, and it's unbelievable. 2.13 points per game.
You want to know the most impressive part too? I think he also set the record for all-time leading scores among Pennsylvania Huntsman players. Franchise history. For those who don't get the joke, it's their first season.
I think for a second, Anthony, you may have had Jeff there.
Yeah, I think
the gears grinding.
He was like, "Wait a second, this is a trick question or a trick statement." So, I just think back to the top play that we featured of his a week ago or 2 weeks ago, where he got set up by Carpenter for a one-time just absolute bomb. And I'm looking at that shot and I'm like, that is an EHL level one-timer.
He only has one game where he did not register a point. That was the second game of the season when they faced the Express Hockey Club.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is pretty damn impressive. And he's a pick for Team HNIB this week, so let's jump into fantasy.
It's time for the eCrew Fantasy Challenge.
The eCrew Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
Jeff, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Golf clap. Team HNIB gained 9.8 points on Team OG this past week.
9.8. I was going to say, I'm opening my fantasy tab right now.
We're like the Lumberjacks. We're just chopping away.
Yes. To
I'm going to grab a
recap,
bigger axe, boys. I don't know.
yes. To recap the picks made by Team OG this week, I'm not mad at you, Jeff. We picked them together. We did have 4 guys give us 4 goose eggs. But hey,
Maxwell, what the heck, man?
They
made you a nickname for your line and everything.
And these guys are having great seasons. But if it wasn't for Jackson Collins, which
would have been screwed.
like we would have put up nothing this week, which is probably why Jackson Collins is being stolen from us by Team HNIB. But we're gonna recap the points first because Collins had he had 4 assists in that 7-2 first game against the Wolves, and then he had the game-winning goal because the Wolves are a top 5 team the second day. So we put up 19 points, and Collins had 16 of them.
And we have 4 bonus game-winning goals of the year, Neil.
Yeah. Ding. But then we add in a goal from Atticus Bean, and that's kind of where we stopped, Jeff. 19. So not our best week by any means, but
it's going to happen.
It lets Team HNIB back in a little bit. They started off with Nick Aver and Tommy Tracy combining for 13 points, fantasy points. They did so in that, I think there was 2 games left in that 3-game set between the Ducks and Maryland. Merrick Herta added a goal. Conlon Carpenter added an assist. And I'm sure Anthony didn't love to see it, but kind of loved to see it. That game that Nicholas Hansen won, where he put up 39 saves, was a bonus game 1 against a top 5 team and the New Jersey 87s. So that 10.8 points was really the anchor of the 28.8 that Team HNIB put up. So the overall point totals put Team OG at 280.6, Team HNIB at 211.2. And I think this is interesting, Jeff. You mentioned how we have 4 bonus game-winning goals.
Mm-hmm.
We also have 0 shutouts, 0 bonus games won, and 0 bonus shutouts. But on the flip side, while Team HNIB doesn't have a bonus game-winning goal against a top 5 team yet, they have a bonus shutout. They have 3 bonus games won. They have a regular shutout. So they have everything that we don't, and we have the one thing that they don't. So, but they're in the 200s. I need to get the calculator out. What's 280.6 or minus 211.2?
Right there. Already did it. 69.4.
There you go. All right. So they've cut the deficit down to below 70. And like Anthony said, they're kind of just chopping away. It's a long season. It is a long season.
What do we have? 46 game seasons now?
46 in the EHL, 42 in the EHLP. So
plenty of time.
Yes. So Anthony, let's we already gave them one of your picks in Arendi. So who else do you have this week?
All right. Well, also being Team HNIB, us being the young guys, I feel like I am obligated to say that is a nice lead that you two have over Team HNIB.
Yeah.
But let's go a little bit more into the stats for Ryan Arendes. He has 10 points in his last 3 games. That includes a 6-point game against the Philadelphia Little Flyers. He had 4 goals and 2 assists. His most recent game against the Union Junior Thunder, he had a goal and 2 apples. So again, Ryan Arendes has been terrific. He's doing this against teams of all divisions because he's just been that good. And I think that he's just going to continue that in Haverhill. Now going on to the rest of the EHL, we're going to go with Nathaniel Peretz from the New England Wolves. Or Nathaniel Peretz, I apologize if I mispronounced that name, but he is riding a 9-game point streak. He has a goal in 3 of his last 4 games, including against the Seahawks, the Wizards, and most recently the Vermont Lumberjacks. Can he keep the point streak going? If he does, I think that'll be good for Team HNIB, so come on down.
Mouthful.
Then this is an interesting pick. Cade Herrera. He's only been in the E-show for 5 games. How about 8 goals?
Mm-hmm.
He scored at least a goal in every game he's been in, including his debut with the Wolves, where he scored 4. So, 8 goals in 5 games. We're going to go with him. Hopes that he finds a way to keep that torrential scoring pace going. Then on defense.
Please don't, kid.
Oh, please do. On defense, we're going to go with Tristan Boyer. Was talking with Jake Basile about this one. Says that he's been rock steady from the blue line. He also has 3 power play goals. So if he can get some goals or assists on the power play, that would also be helpful. He has 3 points in his last 2 games. We're going to go with Boyer. Another defenseman, Braden Doherty. Saw him play against the 87s. He's a guy who can skate really well. Think he's going to rack up some points too. He had an assist in that game against the 87s. So again, welcome to Team HNIB. And then staying in the South Division, we're going to go with Alexis Giroux from the ProTech Junior Ducks. He's been the starting goaltender for that team, has a .920 save percentage, 270 goals against average. He won 3 of his last 4 starts. We're going to go with him in goal.
All right.
Have we confirmed there is no relation to Claude Giroux? We should confirm that. Just for the hell of it. There probably is
big time.
Probably no relation at all, but just for the hell of it, we should probably just ask the question.
Yeah, problems. We'll get to it this weekend.
All right, Jeff, where do you want to start with our picks? So if you can start wherever when it comes to you reading them off. Please do me a favor and take the goalie if you'd like to, because I don't want to pronounce that.
I don't know much about this new kid. This is the newest Seahawks goaltender.
This is correct.
Cole Androlowitz.
Androlowitz.
Okay, there you go.
There we go.
Because I'm pretty sure he's related to
Androlowitz.
I think he has an older brother who played for the Maine Nordiques in the North American Hockey League.
I'll have to find that out. Another question. Jake, we're setting you up for this weekend. That's a bunch of questions that you can do for your interviews.
Okay.
So yeah, Colin Androlowitz.
Androlowitz.
I feel like this is the couple of years ago. DeGiacomo?
Well, Anthony, he is from Lewiston, Maine, which is the town where the Maine Nordiques play. So
that would track. That would make sense.
That would track. He's got 2 wins so far. He has a win over the Wolves and a win over the Rangers. So he's picked his victories well.
He's pretty good.
That's why I wanted to go with him, Jeff. Do you want to keep going? Or want me to go next?
Yeah. You can go ahead. I'm still looking at all these.
So I have been told, well, we should mention first, Aiden Hotchkiss. I mentioned part of the power rankings, sent the video about how they're finally number 1, and then is good enough for our team OG this week. I did really enjoy the dab celebration that he had. Did you guys see that?
I did see that.
That was a pretty emphatic dab. So if he gets the chance to dab again this weekend, that most likely means he scored. So that would go in our favor. Let's get some more dabs. I'll go another time here. Jack Weinman. In our group meet, Trevor Blackburn is Jack Weinman is the pick of the year. I was going to point first. If you go to the stat leaders page for the EHL, you're going to see the first 11 names all say 02, right? Age out year this season in junior hockey is 2002. The first non-02, Jack Weinman.
Oh.
Tied with another 03. Actually, 2 other 03s, I should say, and Heath Mensch and Daniel McKiernan. But Jack Weinman quietly is my word this year, or this episode, I should say, has put up 9 goals and 10 assists so far for the Railers Junior Hockey Club.
Differentially quiet. There's your episode name.
Yes. We'll save that one because we're probably going to use it again.
Right.
All right, there's 2 forwards and a goalie so far. Jeff, let's keep bouncing all over the place.
All right, let's keep bouncing over the place. Told you about Hotchkiss, told you about Wyman, and we told you about, oh my God, I get hives every time I say this kid's name. Colin Androlowitz. What?
Yes, no, there you go.
Anthony, did I get that right? Androlowitz.
There we go.
Although, watch, for all I know, we talked to him, or you guys talked to him during the showcase, and he might say, no, it's pronounced this way, and maybe Jeff gets it right.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe not. So we'll just keep on. We'll keep on moving.
But
here.
maybe not.
So Nolan Watsky is our final forward of the forward class for this new week from the Philly Hockey Club, which is part of the College All-Star Series.
Yep.
So I'd say that's a good pick. Chris Merriman on defense and Ryan Dutcher are EHLP pick. Merriman's been a force for the Rangers, was last year for the Premier, and has been again this year for the EHL. And then Dutcher for our EHLP pick. And then we already told you about our goalie, and I'm not saying his name again.
Did you say you have a 4:00 game one of the days, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, the
I'm sure he's gonna be
Seahawks.
in net,
The,
and I'm gonna have to
the
say it
Seahawks
9
play
million
at
times.
the Seahawks play at 4:00 on Saturday and 4:00 on Sunday. So you have one of those games. So so right now
It's the Saturday game. I
Okay.
have the Rough Riders versus the Seahawks. So I'm gonna say that to myself like 15 times quietly.
Oh, if you have a matchup between Androlowitz and
And Nowarowitz? Oh
Nowarowitz,
no. Stevie Brown, please don't start dating Nowarowitz. I'm gonna have to
Devin-
go back and forth.
no, you're just gonna say save by
Wits.
Wits.
Wits, ballroom blitz. All right.
Rough Riders wits to Seahawks wits and back and forth.
Right.
But just to recap again, so everyone knows where we're at. The overall point totals. Team OG at 280.6, Team HNIB at 211.2. So, Anthony, if you keep gaining 9.8 points per week, you guys will be right there by the time we get to the end of the season.
And then we'll win.
maybe.
We gotta stop with these goose eggs, Neil. I think I'm confident in this bunch, and it'll be.
Me too.
It's always fun when we do fantasy showcase weeks, right? Because we're all together. Most of us, Anthony, I'm sad you're not gonna be with us this weekend. You just broke the news to us pregame, but you're gonna have a fun time at the wedding. I'm sure maybe you'll tune hockey TV on your phone. Maybe
Oh
not.
yeah.
I don't know. Enjoy the wedding.
Can't you see it now? All those summer videos on Instagram where someone's at a wedding and they're holding their phone like in the back and they're watching some game. I could just see Anthony in the back with his phone up watching hockey TV. You may kiss the bride. Anthony's like, yes.
Oh, I did that. I did that years ago when me and Christina were first started dating. I was watching the Bruins Maple Leafs, waiting for the bride to come out. There was a delay. It was a playoff game. I was watching it on my phone.
Okay.
Been there, done that. Gotta do it sometimes.
Made sense.
I think that sets up for a good segue.
Yes. Let's jump into what to watch for.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to watch for is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2022-2023 season.
There are so many awesome matchups this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, I know one that I was talking with Tyler about that he's calling Little Flyers Lumberjacks. Like, that could potentially be a run and gun type game.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony?
Can I bring up something about the Little Flyers?
Of course.
Yeah, perfect.
Saw this new defenseman play for the Little Flyers from the Czech Republic. His name is Chito Yabosek. And Mark Catron said he had tons of praise for him. Probably one of the better skaters he's seen as a defenseman in the last couple of years coaching with the Little Flyers. Really good offensively. He only has 1 assist so far to show for in his first 5 games. But before the game against the 87s, he said, I also want to see how well he can play in his own end. And they shut out the 87s 2-0 that game. There was one sequence for the 87s where they had maybe 4 or 5 grade A scoring opportunities. And most of those opportunities resulted in blocked shots by Yabosek, including a scorching one-timer from Charles Lavoie. He probably has the best one-timer on the team. And Yabosek took it maybe right below the girdle, just above the shin pad around the knee.
Ooh.
You could see he was grimacing a little bit. After the game, he had a hard hat on, and I went up to him. I said, Chito, is that the player of the game award? He goes, oh, they gave it to me as the puck sponge.
The puck sponge. I like that. Ooh.
Puck sponge.
Thank you, Yabusek, for adding that to our arsenal. Now we can say he's being a puck sponge out there. Sponges the puck. You can even use it as a verb.
He was great on both ends of the ice, and he's specifically for just talking about players. I think he's someone to watch out for in this showcase.
For sure. So, a matchup to watch each of you. I'll go last. I won't steal it.
I mean, I'll go first. I got Apple Core Wolves already on my schedule. I got 2 of the 3 Apple Core games.
Okay.
So we already talked about, I do not have that Apple Core Avalanche game. Not sure who does, but that'll be their first day. And then it's Wolves the second day for the Apple Core. So Yeah, I'm excited, really excited to see that. And then you already mentioned earlier, Neil, and I probably just put myself on a lot of dartboards for the Central and East Division with my North versus South Frozen Finals Championship Sunday predictions. So
Yep.
how about Protect Ducks, New Hampshire Junior Avalanche? I also have to call that at 2. That's kind of fate, huh? That's kind of weird.
I would agree. Anthony,
that's on Sunday.
Matchup to watch.
I was going to say Protec and the Railers. You have two teams that are trending upwards. Protec still in first place in the South Division. The Railers, just like Applecore, 3-game winning streak. And I think that will be a really good matchup because I think the Railers, don't want to say likely, but I feel like they're the team that will eventually run away with the Central Division.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless the Chiefs can turn it around, I think this showcase will be super important for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Railers Ducks, that's going to be one of the premier matchups.
I'll go to the premiere for my game to watch, and it comes on the final day of our showcase at 1:00 in Lawrence. Adirondack versus the Rangers. It's actually already their second showcase matchup. They faced off in September. Adirondack probably kicking themselves because they were leading down the stretch in that game, gave up a late game tying goal, and then the game winner in overtime. As we know, Adirondack loves to play games past 60 minutes. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that one will also go past 60 minutes, but maybe Adirondack gets a little even in that matchup. So obviously, we've loved what we've seen from Adirondack, and the Rangers every year in the EHLP. They're just a complete force. So, but those are just a small handful of a bunch of great games this weekend. As you heard us mention, there are some games taking place in Lawrence as well. The majority of the games taking place in Haverhill, at the Haverhill Valley Forum. The Lawrence Valley Forum is where some of the P games will be taking place, but a bunch of games. There's also a home and home series for the 2 EHLP teams that are not coming to the showcase, the 87s and the Renegades. So there's a huge chance for Team HNIB to cut even further into the deficit this weekend, Jeff. So we got to hope that, like you said, we don't put up 4 goose eggs again this week. But I feel good. I feel good about our picks.
I do too. Let's go Colin Introlowitz.
He got it. He got it.
I don't even know. Every time I say it less and less confidently. But see you this weekend, Colin. Can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to ask you.
Catch all the games on Hockey TV. Anthony, I'm sorry we won't see you at the showcase, but we know you'll be watching. So follow along on social media as well. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you this weekend.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.